This is lesson 232 in Early Civilization in the Indus River Valley. The objective here is to understand how Hinduism and Buddhism began and their effect on Indian society. And we've got some words that we can front load. We've got urban planning, we're going to explore that, and the sewer system, and forced relocation because of rivers changing their patterns. We've got a couple of cities to think about, Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. I'm going to identify where they are. We've got a couple of religions. We've got Hinduism and some of its counterparts, such as the caste system and reincarnation and karma. And we also have Buddhism to talk about. And we've got two kingdoms to just quickly preview, which we're actually going to study in more detail in a later unit, and that's the Maurya and the Gupta. So, early civilization in India. India's first civilization developed in the Indus River Valley, and it went from about 3000 BCE to about 1500 BCE. So it lasted quite a long time. And you can see this map where it was located along this Indus River Valley. And that's actually modern Pakistan. And up northeast, you can see the city of Harappa. And down towards the southwest, you can see the city of Mohenjo-Daro. And it was a vast civilization. Of the four river valley civilizations, it's kind of ironic because the Indus River Valley civilization is the river valley civilization about which we know the least. And the reason for that is because they had lots and lots of writing, but we don't know how to read it. Ironically, the Indus River Valley civilization was also the largest of the four river valley civilizations. It was larger than Mesopotamia, and it was larger than the Nile River civilization. The Indus River Valley civilization is best known for their urban planning, and that included such things as straight city streets, no winding little corners or anything like that, public sewers, a public water supply, streets and structures that were oriented towards the breeze to create natural air conditioning. And this civilization is also known for its public baths. The Indus River Valley civilization was the first civilization to produce cotton cloth. And the Indus River Valley civilization cities sometimes had to relocate when the Indus River changed its course. This may have been the reason that the Indus River Valley civilization eventually collapsed. The decline of the Indus River Valley civilization was sudden and mysterious. One theory that was popular for a long time was that Aryan nomads from Central Asia came down into the Indian subcontinent and attacked and destroyed the Indus River Valley civilization. However, more recent archaeological DNA studies have suggested that there was no such invasion. And what that means is this. It means that Hinduism originated locally rather than being brought to India by foreign invaders, which was what people always thought. The Maurya and the Gupta dynasties arose much later, long after the Indus River Valley civilization mysteriously collapsed. And these two dynasties spread the religions of Hinduism and Buddhism. Hinduism is the world's oldest religion that still exists. Its roots stretch all the way back to the Indus River Valley civilization. However, we cannot read the writing of the Indus River Valley civilization, and so we can't know exactly what beliefs of theirs influenced Hinduism or how they influenced Hinduism. Hinduism. Like I said, Hinduism is the world's oldest existing religion. It's the world's third most popular religion with about 750 million followers. The religion of Hinduism originated in northern India, and that was about 4,000 years ago. So Hinduism is practiced by more than 80% of India's population. Hinduism is polytheistic, which is no surprise with a very, very ancient religion like this. Keep in mind that the River Valley civilizations tended to have polytheistic religions. Mesopotamia did, the Nile River Valley did. And so polytheism is the oldest of organized religions. Hinduism also teaches a concept called reincarnation. The soul goes through cycles of birth, death, and rebirth. Hinduism also teaches a concept called karma. And karma means that the actions that you take during your current life will determine the form of your next life. So what goes around comes around. You reap what you sow. That's karma. And in Hinduism, the Ganges River is a sacred river, and cows are sacred animals. With regard to the caste system, there is no upward mobility in this life. The caste system was a social system, and it was a system of social hierarchy that was based in Hinduism. And so wherever you were on the social hierarchy of the caste system determined your social status and the privileges that you had in society. Your caste was hereditary, and this system of hierarchy was rigid and it was strictly enforced upon society. You could only move up by dying and being reincarnated into a higher caste. Otherwise, you were stuck in your caste for the rest of your life. Does this caste system go all the way back to the beliefs of the Indus River Valley civilization? Nobody really knows. We can't read their writing. Or was it brought by invaders who wished to impose this system upon those whom they conquered? Nobody's really sure, although that is looking less and less likely based on DNA. So here's a pyramid of the caste system, and at the very top you've got the best people. You've got the Brahmins, and they're the leaders of Hinduism, and they're the priests. And then below that you've got these various social levels. Warriors and rulers are just below them. Then you have skilled traders and merchants, minor officials, and below them you've got your unskilled workers. And what you don't see is each of these levels is subdivided into literally hundreds of levels. Below that, you have people called the pariah. They are the outcasts. They are untouchables. They're not even good enough to be in the caste system. The spread of Hinduism. The Gupta dynasty spread Hinduism throughout India. And the caste system is still unofficially in practice in India today, although technically, legally, it's been outlawed. Some Hinduism basics. The names of their deities, they don't really teach a deity. However, there are three main gods that they have, and then there are many others. It's a polytheistic system. Its founder is unknown. The religion is just so ancient. And its leadership is provided by holy men and Brahmins. The moral laws of Hinduism say that the soul never dies, but is continually reborn. Regarding holy books, there is no real book, but there is a collection of works known as the Vedas that contain their holiest writings. Final goals. The final goal that you can attain as a Hindu is moksha. And moksha is the state of peace and contentment that you can achieve when you have forsaken the chasing after of wealth and property by overcoming ignorance and desire in yourself. And you can even overcome the desire for moksha. Moksha is something that you can achieve both in this life and in the afterlife. And once you have truly achieved moksha, that state, then you can stop going through that continuous cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. You're finished with all that. Buddhism. Buddhism was begun by a prince named Siddhartha Gautama, and he became the Buddha after years of searching and meditation and enlightenment. Buddhists do not worship a god or gods. Instead, Buddhism is more of a spiritual path to enlightened contentment. In fact, Many Buddhists are actually also Hindus. And so Buddhism believes, they believe in enlightenment. Buddhists believe that you can reach a state that they call nirvana, like the band, and that's eternal peace. And you can reach that state through self-denial and meditation. Buddhists preach the Four Noble Truths. Buddhists believe that the cause of human suffering, all human suffering, is selfish desires. And if you can get rid of your selfish desires, you are no longer capable of suffering, because the only thing that causes suffering is those desires. So if you can get rid of them, you can end suffering for yourself. Nirvana can only be reached through the elimination of earthly desires. And the way to nirvana is by following the Eightfold Path. And you can see the Eightfold Path right here in this picture. And it's represented by what's called a Dharma wheel. And a Dharma wheel is actually used by both Buddhists and Hindus. Buddhists believe in reincarnation and karma, just like in Hinduism. You can keep being reborn until you reach nirvana. All forms of life in Buddhism are considered sacred. All forms, not just cows. And Buddhists reject the Hindu caste system. In fact, Buddha himself said this. He said about the caste system, birth does not make one a priest or an outcast. Behavior makes one either a priest or an outcast. The spread of Buddhism. Buddhist teachers acted as missionaries, and Buddhism, unlike Hinduism, which basically stayed in India, spread from India into East and Southeast Asia. The Maurya dynasty of India supported this spread, hoping that it would unify and stabilize their empire. The Mauryan Empire stretched across the Indian subcontinent. Its most notable ruler was Asoka, and he actually converted to Buddhism, and he sought to impose peace and prosperity on his subjects. And the Mauryan Empire finally collapsed in the year 232 BCE, and that's actually during the classical period, which we'll study in a later unit. The Gupta Empire is remembered as the golden age of Hindu culture. It was known for peace and overall tolerance, and it had tremendous scientific and artistic accomplishments. Some of those contributions include, for example, astronomical observations. They discovered that the Earth was spherical. They weren't the only ones that did, and that it was rotating on an axis. They devised the concept of zero and actually used zero in math equations. They devised a decimal system. They created the numerals that we use today. We can call them Hindu Arabic numerals. They came to us through the Arabs, but originally from the Hindu. And they constructed stupa temples and rock cliff monasteries and shrines. Buddhism Basics. There are no deities in Buddha. They don't worship a god, it's more of a spiritual path. Its founder was the Buddha, also known as Prince Siddhartha Gautama. Its leadership is provided by monks and nuns. Its moral laws include the Eightfold Path. Regarding holy books, there are many. The teachings of the Buddha were written down after his death. And the final goal of Buddhism is nirvana, or the state of enlightenment, the state of having freed yourself of all selfish desires.